Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Liezel joining us again, better known as MyTeenLifeCoach.com. That's MyTeenLifeCoach.com. Welcome. How are you?
Awesome. It's so good to see you again. This is my
too.
favorite time of the week, I swear. I'm always like, yes, it's Wednesday.
Well, thank you. It's so positive to speak to you, someone who has a lot of experience with families, with adolescents. Would you mind explaining a little bit about what you do?
Yes, absolutely. Liezel Lane here. I am the founder and CEO of MyTeenLifeCoach.com. I work with teenagers from ages 10 through to young adulthood, like 24, 25 years old. And it's about resilience building, building self-esteem, and helping our new generation and our future generation of leaders know who they are and what they're here to do. And then I work more increasingly with parents as they're starting to navigate and be more aware of what their role is with teenagers. And we're at myteenlifecoach.com, so it's easy to find us. And I'm so excited to announce we've hired a new coach. Her name is Cameron O'Brien. This is her first week with us, and it's been absolutely amazing to watch how she's kind of getting into the role and stuff.
Welcome, Cameron.
Yes, maybe I'll have her with me at some point.
Absolutely. Would love that. Yes.
So yeah.
So back to school, I have to tell you, because in New York, at least for us, we're back to school. You were there a little before us. I just want to tell you one thing.
Yeah.
My nephew, who we spoke to before, who's he's special in his own right, the anxiety, he's in a special class 13-1, and you spoke to him a few weeks ago, and he has this, he's an amazing personality, but inability to focus. And my sister made the decision to put him into high school for the Regents Bound diploma, because if he goes the other way, he doesn't get a diploma. So they're going to try their best, right?
Right.
I saw him last night. He had the first day of school. He had a great time. But when I got to the house, he got a little nervous, and he takes his papers and he starts crumpling them up, and like all his paperwork from school. And my sister gets like, okay, but that's part of his problem. He said he had a great day. Well, then today I get a call, and he got sick in school. So my sister had to pick him up. Now this pattern happened few years ago when he was nervous and anxious.
Yeah.
So I'll give you an update on that once I get more details, but I'm a little worried about it because that's the kids start acting out and he gets sick and makes himself vomit. So supposedly that's what happens. I feel horrible, but these are just one of the thousands of things parents out there can be dealing with that need some extra help and advice. So my heart goes out to him. I got a text from my sister before. I was like, okay.
I'll give you a quick tip, because if he's texting you, I think that's wonderful, because you're obviously a very important support system to him. I was coaching somebody earlier on this week who's having the same things, and they do not have learning issues or ADHD issues or anything like that. And we discovered that if he had a pencil in his hand all the time and he was twirling it and learning how to twirl it and stuff, or like those fidget toys. Or I told him, like, go to the bathroom and do jumping jacks and shake it off. And every time you do that, text me and let me know you've done it. And because that's what he would do too, is he would like start to hyperventilate and start to like literally make himself physically sick. So this type of anxiety is very, very common with teenagers who are sensitive, who are generally sensitive. And so like supporting them with stories of your own where it was like, yeah, I remember feeling that way, and this is what I used to do, right? Even if you make it up, doesn't matter.
Got it. Yep.
But getting the physical part of that out of them, but not allowing them to bail out. That's the key, is learning to have resilience through the process and work through it. Even if there's like a teacher he can go to and verbalize it and say, okay, I'm beginning to feel this right now, and at least have a space where he can like just name it, is everything, So anyway, that was just a quick.
Oh, thank you. Good to know. I'm going to wrote my note down, but the fidget toy, something. Okay. So I'm sorry. What did you want to discuss today?
No,
sweetheart?
It's so good. I love this. Well, actually, the timing's perfect. I had a very, very deep and meaningful parent interaction at the end of last week. And I actually asked them if they would mind writing down the story for me.
Okay.
Because what I wanted to do, and I got their permission, was I wanted to read this story to the audience today. And then we can either ask questions or talk about it afterwards. It's probably about a 10-minute read. I
Sure.
kind of practiced it out loud just to see how it would do timing wise. Because I feel like this mom, she got to the heart of what's going on a lot in parents' hearts and minds today,
Yeah.
especially those who are like already have gone through it and they're sort of empty nesting. But also I wanted to share it because of the for the parents who are still getting there or are actually right in the middle of it.
Yeah.
So with your blessing, I want to just read the story and just do like a little bit of a story time.
Sure.
And then we can just kind of see how we feel and how we want to discuss it afterwards.
Sure. Go for it.
Okay. So here we go. So this mom says, I have recently come to my admission of being a codependent parent. I am in recovery. Even as a professional and highly successful person, I fell prey to this very destructive behavior in the name of love for my children. I would even say extreme love for my children. I found myself asking, is it possible for a parent to love too much? My question came as a result of noticing that my teens were falling into addictive and risky behaviors. To protect them, I won't say what the addictions were, but for the sake of parenting today, you can fill in your own blank on that. So I had to start digging to understand what it was about me that made my teens susceptible to self-destructive behavior, despite the fact that they had the best of everything: opportunities, academic support, success, stability at home, despite that we had a divorce in the family, all the things. There is nothing like being an empty nester to make a parent start dissecting, criticizing, wondering what they did and where they went wrong. I have learned that there is a difference between giving your kids everything and unhealthy attachment to them. How did it get that way? Well, it started way back when I was only 8 years old. After my parents were divorced in the late 70s, my mom was left with very little support. She had to work multiple jobs, and we became latchkey kids. It was not long before I had to assume a parent role between me and my sibling, and I felt the responsibility of protecting him during times of house unrest and trauma in a boarding school situation. After my mom remarried, we were stuck in a physically and emotionally abusive step-parent household. And we had to walk on eggshells constantly. Our needs came last, and I assumed the caretaker role for my mother to help her survive. On the outside, to others, our life looked great. On the inside, in reality, we were living a nightmare. As a teenager myself, during this 8 to 12-year period, I did not learn how to foster my own self-worth and value. I could not see myself as a separate individual who could forge my own success or identity. I became a survivalist and the person who had the responsibility, self-assigned by the way, to look after, protect, fix, try to secure things for my mom. No judgment or blame here. It just was the way it was. So I became really good at taking care of others' needs, really good. Over the span of my college years, corporate working years, and of course, finding my life partners and ultimately my kids, I now realize and see a few key things. Mm-hmm. I became attracted to relationships where it was easy to put their needs before my own. My happiness was secondary. It felt more important for me to see their happiness, their peace, their success, their resolutions. That's what allowed me to feel value, to feel worthy. I would literally feel great when I was able to, quote unquote, fix someone or something. I said yes to everything and everyone. I became a chameleon. I'll be whatever you need me to be to please you, is what would be coursing through my veins. I structured and lived my life around others all the time. I had absolutely no boundaries, not for me or for the people in my life.
Okay.
It looks and sounds crazy, I know, but it was real, normal, and I was addicted to it. Because feeling great to sacrifice myself for others started to become short-lived because they would move on and be independent and autonomous. And I was lonely and sad because I was no longer needed.
Wow.
What was my solution? Keep finding ways for them to want to need me. People call that emotional manipulation. It is hard for me to say that out loud, but in a very unintentional, well-meaning way, it was in fact true. Let's take this back to my earlier question. Why would my teens turn to this behavior despite the fact that they did not suffer or struggle like me? Did I love them too much because I was overcompensating for my own experience as a teen, or that I felt that I needed to be needed? Here is the hard, cold truth. Codependent parents hold on to control. I learned that my sense of self, my value, my worth depended on my parent-child relationships. This showed up as the cool mom, over-involvement in their activities, inappropriate caretaking, doing things for them like cleaning their rooms, bringing their dinner to them while they were doing homework, overindulging on their birthdays, presents, you name it. They could literally ask me for anything. And 99% of the time, it was a yes. And when inappropriate experimentation started happening, I turned a blind eye for fear of not being a popular parent. Completely permissive and absolutely no or very little boundaries.
Yeah.
Why would I be surprised? Well, I shouldn't be. What I didn't learn was that potential boundaries did actually equal love. So what was the damage? Well, my kids' sense of self and their self-esteem were determined by external forces like parental approval or peer approval. They did not learn how to cultivate that within themselves. They have learned that being cool and popular is more important than being principled. They have attracted toxic relationships and not such good friend groups because they define themselves in terms of others and other things. These two things have had tsunami potential ripple effects, and I had to start reversing that. So now I am in recovery. I had to get out of denial. I had to learn to love boundaries and implement them. This was a big one, and it was mandatory. I had to realize that tough love requires consequences so that I can treat my teens as individual beings, not an extension of my own self-worth. So I had to stop enabling their every desire and support them in growing a pair when they miss the mark. I had to learn how to communicate ongoing goals, expectations, and progress. I had to reestablish boundaries every single day. And I had to become comfortable with, we don't need perfection, we just need progress. In writing this, I find myself developing respect for me, respect for the art and science of parenting, respect for the lasting effect of a parent's legacy, but most of all, respect for my kids. I respect that they are full humans who are masters of their own resources and their own destiny. I have the responsibility of being a role model, setting the example, and breaking the chain of generational trauma responses in our family. I want to show them that tough love, tough decisions, tough choices all contributes to building their individuality, their sense of self and independence, and ultimately confidence and self-esteem that does not need to depend on external forces, addiction, or approval of others. I just want you to know, she writes this later. She says, if you find yourself listening and relating to anything I have to say today, I would suggest the following. Start healing your inner child and childhood trauma. Take stock of how your codependent parenting style is actually disempowering your kids. Open your eyes before it's too late. Your kids are not attached anymore. Treat them like individuals and encourage them to take charge of their own life. Tell them they have agency over their own money. Teach them to stay true to their sense of self and their spiritual beliefs and passions. Show them how important it is to give time to self-reflection and self-care. Let them know that they have the right to change their mind if something does not serve them. Teach them that self-worth is priceless. What I say to them now, move slowly into relationships, build trust first, stand up for your own values, and be with like-minded people. Respect others, but respect yourself first. Don't fall in love with others before you have fallen in love with yourself. Understand your own boundaries and speak up or move away when they are invaded. Know that no one defines you except you. Pleasing others against your values will leave you in the dust. Don't give out for the sake of being liked. Don't let others direct your life or define who you are. Don't become a victim so that you can get attention or care. Don't anticipate that others will understand you. And then, dear parent, she writes, step back. Be there to support, not save. Hold them accountable and celebrate their wins. Let them fail and learn and grow. And then she says, I end my story with this. Children do not experience our intentions, no matter how heartfelt. They experience what we manifest in tone and behavior.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Huge, right?
that is huge.
That was so inspirational that I just had to share that today.
And just curious, where is that from? Is it from a book? Is it an article? Is it a client? Is it, or you can't say?
Yeah, it's a client.
Okay, that's
From a client.
beautiful.
Just a
And
heartfelt
she
written.
wants,
Yeah.
wow, to share with all of us. Wow.
And so the reason why it became so important for me to share this is because the underlying essence of that letter is what I work with parents, because it's hard. That's hard
Yep.
stuff to deal with, you know? So yeah, what were your thoughts?
Clearly, she's grown and learned so much. And now all the dependency issue and the childhood. And oh my gosh, I feel for her. We all have our childhood trauma. So it brought me back to my own. And then, we talked a little bit about dependency with my children, sleeping in their bed. And, but God, my heart goes out to her. Like she's, what an amazing girl. And she's better now, thanks to the help of you.
Yeah, well,
How
yeah,
can I ask how long you're working together for? Is that
that was for 16 weeks that we had to work through that. And then watching how the transformation happened in the family, right? That's the beautiful stuff. I was speaking with a mom today because in this particular, a different case, I'm working with the entire family, both parents, a step parent, and the children. And And for the first time, when I spoke with her this week, she said, you know, there's a vulnerability now and there is an honesty now when we talk that never existed before, because everybody's walls were up, or they were overcompensating, or they were speaking from a place of
Yeah.
baggage, or they were, like projecting. And they, sometimes you just got to call a spade a spade.
Yeah.
And but the hardest part is developing the trust, for the parent to trust the teen, and the teen to trust the parents, and the parent to trust the parents, and the parent to trust themselves, and our vulnerabilities start with ourselves. So when you can deal with your own elephant in the room first, and then develop the courage to say it out loud, it really helps bring the guard down of other people.
Wow.
So yeah, big deal.
Beautiful. Amazing that we could be healed. We can be saved. We can be. Also, after 16 weeks, clearly learning a lot. I mean, the change is immense. What have you seen in her personal, private life, work wise or
Yeah,
school wise? I don't know, age, like what,
yeah, just
and
everything.
just
So
outlook on life.
yeah, just even that, right? And of course, we know that when you take care of your inner self, your body starts to heal itself. So she started to lose weight, she started to have more energy, she started to be a better mom,
Hmm.
and so of course now, I mean, of course nobody's perfect, but it's just setting the example, right? And so when you start to notice that your children are starting to use your words, whether good or bad, that's a sign, right? And I mean, I witnessed that myself with my darling 16-year-old. She's the only one left at home. Uh, we were nervous about, even though she had her driver's license, because we didn't trust how easily she got that driver's license.
Yeah.
But so we were like, yeah, no, you've got your driver's license, but we still don't trust you to drive to school by yourself. But then we did. And just the ripple effect of, I have self-control, and I am responsible for my own timing, and I am responsible for if I'm going to be late or not, and I'm responsible if I'm calculating the traffic right, and I'm responsible for making sure that there's gas in the tank the night before. All of that, just take
Yeah.
that. Learning to drive, that tiny little thing, is so huge in terms of building the individual, that little mini, adults that, they look like adults, but they're not adults yet,
Yeah.
and you start to let them know, like, okay, we're going to give you this, but here are the consequences. If you're late and the school contacts us, then, there's going to be consequences, right? Let alone the fact that you're going to feel crappy about yourself anyway. So, yeah, that was, um, I love to see that when parents get it,
Powerful. Oh my
it's
gosh.
super powerful. Yes.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing this story.
Yeah, it was
Wow.
nice. It was a nice change.
And so that other, we still have just a few minutes left. So the type of people that you work with, clearly, would you mind just giving us some?
Yeah. So let's talk about not just the people, but let's talk about the areas. So it could be, for teens and parents alike, where it doesn't matter who, but it's like specializing in ADHD,
Mhm.
specializing in academic resilience, specializing in exploring a career and job preparedness, life skills, time management. There's this thing we call time uh, crunching. So it's where we are chunking time so that we can help parents and kids find a mutual conversation on how we spend our time every day. Believe it or not, that's such a common thing. Relationships, being able to have friendships, that's the second most important thing. I just want friends. I want to feel good about myself by having the right kind of friends, and I don't know how to make them. So whether you're 10, whether you're and you're just fifth grade moving into middle school, if you are an eighth grader moving into freshman year, if you're a senior moving into freshman year in college, all of those stages in between, all of those topics span our whole lifespan. So when you can get good at it in the beginning, then you're going to reap the rewards afterwards. And then for parents, it's about the learning the art of letting go and detaching, still loving, still coaching, still parenting, but let go. You've got to start to let go and become the coach. So what I love to do is I love to teach parents how to become like me, like a coach, So yeah.
Good. Thank you. Thank you. MyTeenLifeCoach.com. Liezel Lane, share your social media page as well as your phone number.
Yes. And we're going to be, our mastermind group for parents has shifted from Sundays to Wednesdays once a month. So keep a lookout on our social media for that. On Facebook, My Teen Coach, Liezel Coach, just type in My Teen Life Coach and it will come up if you Google us.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Liezel Lane.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.